All right. Well, hello, everyone. It's great to be back with you again tonight. This series of calls has been so helpful. Your feedback has let us know to keep them coming. And I'm excited tonight. We get the extreme pleasure. I get to interview one of my favorite people, Dr. Arlene Taylor. Beautiful, talented, inspirational. She inspires me. I look my face in the future. I want it to look like hers. So
Oh, you're too kind.
she's a brain function specialist and one of the leading speakers on brain function. This lady has written more books and articles and blogs than I could possibly mention. So you want to make sure you go look for her. Just Google her, Dr. Arlene Taylor, or go to arlenetaylor.org. She's got links to everything she's written and some incredible exercises, brain exercises, and a course that she'll tell us about later that I'm going to sign up and take. Maybe she's got others. But I know she's a long-term friend of the Impacts World family, and she and I share a passion to help people learn how to thrive by design and just keep an atmosphere around us that's hopeful and positive and innovative and resourceful and creative. We've just got so much in our capacity to make our lives better. So I'm delighted tonight to talk to Dr. Arlene. And specifically, I could talk to her about a million things, but today we're going to try to discipline ourselves to talk about hydrogen water and how that could be helpful to our health in general and to our brain function specifically. So Dr. Arlene, we know that hydrogen, I know it's like the first element on the periodic table. I know it's the most abundant element in the universe. It's part of water, and we can't live without water. We can't live without oxygen. So we know hydrogen is important to us, but what do we really mean by hydrogen water? There's already hydrogen in water. So tell us what that means kind of to the layperson, and how could that be beneficial to us?
Well, you're right. It's the most abundant element in the universe. And, the gases that form the sun, largely hydrogen. It's amazing. So the hydrogen atom has one electron. And hydrogen water is water that has been infused with more hydrogen so that it has two hydrogen, electrons, if you want to put it that way. And so hydrogen water is very simple. It's just water that's had hydrogen gas added to it.
Okay.
But it doubles the number of electrons. That's what you need to remember as we talk about this, because hydrogen by itself is one electron. Gas infused hydrogen water has two electrons. So the belief is, and it seems to be proving itself, although some of these things are hard to prove because everybody's different, every animal research is different, but it looks like when you drink hydrogen infused water, it is an anti-inflammatory. It acts as an antioxidant, and we can talk about that a little bit more. In fact, I was reading the other day, Nicholas Perricone, ND, said that when you drink hydrogen water, you turn your cells into antioxidant factories.
Wow.
Because of the extra electron, which is an antioxidant. And he says that drinking hydrogen water can give you more energy, slow the aging process, and even speed up your recovery after you've done a physical workout. So that's not insubstantial.
Right. Well, now listen, I have followed you long enough to know, and one of the things I appreciate about you is you have a gift to research, right? You love to go after it and not just from one source. You'd never just take one source and go with it. I know you care about,
because that might be a fluke,
Exactly, could be a fluke. So peer-reviewed studies, how long is the study, who paid for the study, all of those things. So that's something I appreciate about you, and I know you don't speak things to people lightly. You tell them like it is. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. And I know there's a lot of things that apparently hydrogen water has been an accepted practice in Japan for a long time, and even some other healing centers around the world. So tell me what you know about the research behind hydrogen water, who's been using it, and what does that look like?
Well, you mentioned Japan, and honestly, they've been light years ahead of actually using hydrogen water, which I think is amazing. It puts them well ahead of many countries. One of the things about hydrogen water is that it is so small, it's number one on the periodic table, as you
Right.
mentioned,
Mhm.
that it's easy for it to get into cells compared to, larger elements. And in Japan, it's not just that they have been drinking it, they've been bathing in it.
Wow.
And some people thought that was really funny until they started investigating other places in the world where people have gone to bathe in the water besides drinking that. For lots of years, people laughed and said, oh, that is so ridiculous. You're making a pilgrimage to Lourdes in France, and you think that's going to help you? Well, I looked up the other day, and I found this. Some researchers decided that they wanted to see if this was just nonsense or if anything was going on. And one of them was Dr. Kim Young. He went to Lourdes and he got permission to analyze samples of the Lourdes water and compared it to ordinary water. Well, what do you suppose he found?
What do I suppose he found? If I were to hazard a guess, I'm going to bet there's extra hydrogen in that there water.
Oh, you're such a smart lady, Wendy. Absolutely. He found that the Lourdes water had a much higher concentration of activated hydrogen than regular water, and he believes that was responsible for restoring health to cells damaged by oxidation and free radicals. Well, it didn't last for the people. It
Right.
lasted while they were in Lourdes and maybe for a while afterward, but it's not something that you can do once and it's a done deal. And so that started some of the people thinking about, well, what if we could make hydrogen water? What if people would not be dependent on being able to afford to fly to Lourdes every 6 weeks or so,
Right.
and bathe in the water and drink the water and get some benefit? And supposedly that encouraged entrepreneurs to try to come up with a hydrogen machine, which was quite expensive at first.
Right.
But is much, much more affordable. And I suppose if I could only do one thing, it would be hydrogen water.
Wow.
Because inflammation underlies almost every disease on the planet, period. And hydrogen water is really touted as the most effective way to neutralize the free radicals and give your brain an ongoing, continuing supply of an antioxidant that will fight this free radical damage. So I drank alkaline water for years. And then as I began looking at the research for hydrogen water, I decided, okay, I'll drink alkaline water whenever I can, but when I'm home and I have my machine, I only drink hydrogen water. It's so effective at getting into the cells that there's some manufacturers, I have been told, who have slow release medications. And so they say, don't take this with hydrogen water because it takes everything right into the cells, and we want this to be slow timed release. And I thought, oh, well, that's a pretty positive reason for taking hydrogen water if you're not taking a specific time release medication.
Right. Well, and I know, especially anything that is going to help me repair cells. one, just the world we're living in, the toxins we're taking in, the food we're eating, all the things that are happening, but particularly in this day and age, both over-the-counter medicines and pharmaceuticals, like an amount of mitochondrial cell damage, just, they like to call them side effects. That just means it's the effects they don't want. That's the ones that happen that you paid for these, and these come along with it, along for the ride, little imposters. So anything that can help me repair damage or, take back inflammation, all the things that we take in that cause inflammation, is something I'm very interested in.
Well,
So,
one of the benefits touted for hydrogen water is that it repairs the cells in the mitochondria. And if people don't know what that is, inside the nucleus of every cell in your body that has a nucleus, there are these miniature energy factories. And like everything else, they can, age, they can be bombarded by free radicals. And you mentioned several of them. What we eat, refined, high fat, high sugar, high white flour. I mean, that's just a recipe for exploding free radicals in your system.
right.
And people don't connect that what they eat are wonderful building blocks or substandard, lumber and bricks.
Right.
So it repairs, it helps repair these energy cells. And Wendy, that's all we are, is energy. That's all we are. If you're out of energy, you're out of life.
Right. No, so talk to me a little bit about specifically hydrogen water as it relates to the brain. The kind of brain health is kind of what you're known for, and I agree. If you're going to focus on your brain health, you got to focus on all of it, because you're, like you say, your body carries around your brain.
Exactly.
But specifically, how can hydrogen water help with the brain health in general, memory, focus? What does that look like?
There's research that shows the body approximately matches the water-land ratio on this planet. And it's somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 water to 1/4 solid mass.
Okay.
Well, you can basically equate that with the body. I tell people, if you are adequately hydrated, and many people are not,
right?
If you are adequately hydrated, consider that you're 75% water, body and brain. There's some muscles are, a lot less water. Some organs are a little more, but just think of the average. Now, the thinking cells in the brain, the neurons, are 85% water.
Wow.
So dehydration hits them first. And now dehydration is being linked to dementia, to the development of dementia, because as the cells lose water, the tissue gets pulled away from the skull, and nobody up there likes that. Right. And that can lead to dementia. So I found a 2009 study in the Journal of Neuropsychopharmacology. And I'm never sure I'm going to be able to say it. I brought a quote to read for you. It said, "The continuous consumption of hydrogen water prevents the stress-induced decline in learning and memory as we age."
Wow.
This likely is because the hydrogen water decreases inflammation, and inflammation is just so critical. I mean, it's the bad boy of the brain.
Right. Well, and I like the way you put it so simply, that when you've got hydrogen water, there's an extra. There's one that belongs to the water, but there's an extra one it can lend to the body to
exactly
do extra things. That's such a simple, easy analogy for me to grab my head around.
Good.
Okay, so talk to me about, you've mentioned free radicals a few times, and we all hear about free radicals, and in our minds, free radicals in our body equals cancer. That's like the thing that's out there. But not
Well,
all free
and it
radicals are bad.
influences wrinkling of the skin. And I'm telling you, some of that's probably unavoidable, but some of it is avoidable.
Right. Well, so talk to me about free radicals. What happens when we've got too many of them bumping around in our body and in our brain? And
All right.
yeah, talk to me about that.
So some free radicals are good. That's
Right.
the first thing I want people to get. Some free radicals actually are required for some of the body processes. And I'm not a physicist, I'm not a nuclear and atomic scientist. So I don't know exactly how that works, but that's what they say. You need some free radicals. So I don't want to paint free radicals, all of them with the same brush.
Right.
But some of them are not good. And let's talk about a group that are not good. Atoms want 2 electrons.
Right.
And molecules composed of atoms want 2 electrons for every atom that's part of the molecule. And that helps everything go well. All the cylinders are firing.
Right.
But free radicals involve an atom that's missing one of the paired electrons. So instead of 2, there's only 1, and it becomes erratic. Now, remember this, hydrogen in itself, first element, 1 electron. Hydrogen water, 2 electrons. Oxygen, 8 electrons. So have you got that picture?
Got that picture.
Okay, good, because I want you to remember that so that I can tell you my little story later and you'll get it.
I love it.
All right. So oxygen is required for almost all the processes in the body, whether it's repairing cells or creating food for the neurons or sending messages and so on and so forth. It's required for energy. During one or more of these chemical processes, sometimes something happens and one of the electrons gets destroyed. Now, I grew up in Canada, and we used to joke that we could ice skate before we could walk. And that's almost true.
Almost.
The stores sell little tiny hockey sticks and pucks, and you see little kids out there that have just learned to walk, and they're zooming around the ice with their little miniature hockey sticks, hitting this puck around.
Right.
Now, think of each person as an atom. They have 2 skates because they have 2 feet.
Okay.
So there's your 2 electrons.
Okay.
That would be an atom. Now, several atoms get together, which often has to happen. So let's say that you've got 4 people who've linked up together to make a molecule. So how many electrons are they going to have?
Well, 4 people are going to have 8 feet.
You've got that right, and that's 8 skates.
8 skates.
That is an oxygen molecule.
Okay.
8 skates, and the skates are clipped on to their shoes. Okay. And they whiz around the rink, this huge worldwide rink, and they deliver products to places on the rink. Okay. They carry away waste products. They cook food for the neurons or thinking cells. And then something goes wrong. Maybe one of the skaters tripped on something on the ice and one of his skates flew off. Okay. All right, now you have an oxygen molecule and you've only got 7 electrons and they're dragging this other, person along that is weighing them down, and they're not contributing because they've only got 1 on.
Okay.
So when you have a free radical in the body that's not needed because it's beneficial, they lose an electron and immediately they start trying to steal an electron from one of the other groups, either from an atom or from a molecule with several atoms. And they're often successful. And so they grabbed the skate off one of those legs, put it on theirs, and now they're in good shape. But now they've left another damaged atom or molecule. And it depends where in the body that electron or the brain was stolen from. So if they get stolen from the skin, you start wrinkling. If they get stolen from some of the other internal body organs, they wrinkle just like the skin.
Right.
And so it's a game. You know, you lose an electron, now who can I take one from?
Right.
And when it happens in the brain or the heart or, you know, the lungs, a really key organ for, you know, maintaining life. I mean, some organs you can get by without. You can lose your tonsils, you can lose your adenoids, you can have your appendix out.
Right.
But some of those other organs, you know, when they get damaged by free radicals, it's really, really hard to repair them. So the hydrogen water, which has 2 electrons, is just amazing. They're the Secret Service, and they're going around on the ice looking for somebody who's lost a skate.
Right.
And now they give it one of their 2 skates, and it bonds to that. And so here's the bottom line. Hydrogen water giving 1 electron to oxygen. Now it has 8, and here's the hydrogen. Together they form water. Giving it to the oxygen molecule, and they form water. So what does water do? As I said earlier, it puts out fires.
Right.
And so as the hydrogen water donates freely all these skates to all these handicapped skaters, the more that happens, the more all the skaters on the ice are fully functional.
I love it.
So when the free radicals get the electron, they become fully functional again. And now any damage they had can be repaired. And as that happens, think of it. That's why I use the ice metaphor, because it reduces the heat, which is the inflammation, which is damaging to the body.
Right.
The current wisdom is that inflammation is so damaging that it underlies all of our physical health, you know, problems. And
Right.
if we can lower that, what do? We reduce our risk for all of these potentially damaging diseases. And that's one reason why obesity is so terrifying to me. I come from a family, I've told you that before, who has the
Right.
West Coast concession on obesity.
Mm-hmm.
I weigh the least of any woman in our family for 3 generations.
Wow.
I'm within my normal range. I'm not looking like a skeleton, but I'm within my normal range, and I stay there because obesity increases exponentially the numbers of free radicals, which therefore increases a person's risk, if they're obese, for at least 50 chronic diseases and maybe more.
Right.
So there's something you can do at the basic level to help protect yourself. And that's why hydrogen water is called an antioxidant, because it donates electrons to atoms and molecules that have been damaged and lost one. Now, have I said that in a way that makes sense to you?
You have. The skater analogy is brilliant to me. And of course, all things, actually a scripture verse came to my mind: the generous man will prosper, he who waters others will himself be
There
refreshed.
you go.
And I just had this picture of this lovely, you know, going out and being generous and handing out these extra electrons and making the whole system better. Honestly, it's like society. If we help the broken people in society, the whole society flourishes.
Right.
So like, I just love the concept of hydrogen water being a generous entity in my body. That makes me want to go out and get a machine right now.
Well, you know, I donate most of my services, so I'm not especially wealthy. I manage my money like everybody else. But when you get this kind of research, I will give up a vacation to get a hydrogen machine.
Yeah.
Because I think it is so critical to help us as we age.
Yeah. No, you've convinced me. You've definitely convinced me. So
well,
okay,
I'm
now
not trying to convince anybody. I'm just sharing the research.
Well, see, that's the thing. When you speak authentically, when you speak about things that you know, things that you've discovered and experienced, and you talk about it just in a way, hey, this is what I've learned and this is what it's done for me. That's the most powerful kind of influence, because you're not trying to. You just want other people to know this could improve your life.
No, I'm not selling machines. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just drinking hydrogen water.
Just drinking hydrogen water, exactly. Okay, so something else I've heard them talk about is that hydrogen water can cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's been mentioned a few times. Can you just tell the folks on the call here, why would that be so important, that it's small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, and what does that mean exactly?
It's absolutely huge. Absolutely. The brain is so important that it has its own military, if you will, encampment that circles the brain. And the blood-brain barrier is just a dense, interlocking layer of cells. And I think of them as my secret service, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that is strong enough to block most harmful things from getting into the brain. There are some things that are small enough to get in that are not good for us. Okay. And that's one of the problems with some of these combinations of street drugs and so on and so forth. Antibiotics are too big to cross the blood-brain barrier in general. Okay. And so there's research designed to see if they can hook the antibiotic onto a tiny cell that will cross, or atom or molecule that will cross the blood-brain barrier and get that into the brain. So the protection is absolutely necessary, but we have a very polluted planet now that some of those things cross the blood-brain barrier when they shouldn't. So the hydrogen atom is minuscule. I'm glad you started with it's number 1 on the periodic table. It's right. Just minuscule.
Right.
It can pass through this protective army of cells and get into the brain, which means the hydrogen water can do the same thing. And now you've got they're not fighter, now you've got the free donors in the brain to help repair the brain and replace, connect with the oxygen molecule that's been damaged and turn it into water. And that's the basic thing it does. It neutralizes the free radicals by turning them into water, which is not only harmless, but which dampens down inflammation. Yeah. And so, that's just incredible to me, and marvelous.
That really excites me. Like you, I've got a history in my family, very, very close, almost oppressive history in our family with Alzheimer's and dementia, and I'm seeing it, generations back and generations near. So just the idea of anything that I can do, and I think for many of them, hydration has been a key. They forget to drink. It's difficult to get them to drink, and the less they have water, the worse the Alzheimer's seems to be. Like, just anecdotally, I can see that. So anything that I could possibly do in my own life that would assist in bringing, super hydration, for lack of a better word, that just would help with memory and focus and keeping all of my neurons healthy and nobody running around with half a skate on their foot. I want everyone to have ice skates on that ice rink. So, that it can cross the blood-brain barrier and help me there is something that I find really fascinating. And That's a
Well, I
great
don't,
analogy.
life is not predictable. Nothing is guaranteed, you know
Right.
that. But I'm, my personal life vision, and if you aim higher, you get farther.
That's right.
My personal life vision is to be able to take this, a lot of it is so new, this new information, and package it in a way that a brain that's got no exposure to any of the research, or even an educational level that allows them to read the research and quickly, assimilate it. If they can get it, it will change the trajectory of their lives. If they apply the information, they'll get perhaps to see not only their children grow up, but their grandchildren, and perhaps even their great grandchildren, and
Right.
be able to contribute
Right.
instead of spending their declining years, as people call them, in misery. And I don't plan to decline. I'm aiming to be a super centenarian with good physical, mental, spiritual, brain body function. We'll see how that goes. But I'm doing everything I can that research shows can help you stay younger and healthier for longer.
Yeah. No, I think it is on us each as individuals. I have a responsible to participate in a hopeful, positive, desirable future. And I dare not complain about things if I have done nothing on my part. My part is, what can I do? As simple, as basic as using food for fuel in my body, proper rest, positivity, affirmations, exercises for my brain, understanding the importance of movement.
And we've got research on all of that now, which is actually the reason that I wrote the Longevity Lifestyle Matters program, because the research is exciting. It shows you that if you get your mindset right, and if you learn to talk to your brain in the way that it can understand you, you got a leg up on avoiding some of this stuff. You can prevent what's preventable. You can better manage what you didn't prevent or what could not be prevented. You can't prevent everything. If you're in the middle of a forest fire, you're probably going to breathe in some polluted air, even if you, take your slip off and put it on over your nose.
Right.
But outside of things like that, you can do so much, Wendy.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. Again, you and we have some similar joy in that aspect, in just I'm excited about everything I can do. I don't like to focus on what I can't do. I know my brain
doesn't help.
Yeah, my brain likes to go to work. I like to give it things to do. I don't like to give it things to not do. I like to give it things to do. So I also know that you maintain a list of some benefits that come from hydrogen water, and we've kind of discussed them, but kind of as we're getting to the end of the call, I wonder if maybe you could kind of give us a little bit of a list of some of the benefits that we could experience to our health and well-being.
I'm pretty sure I brought a list. I promised you I would. Yes, I have.
You did. So if you could name a few of them, that would be outstanding.
I can also send you, although I think I may have already done that, I think I wrote an article for Impact's World that contained, some of those benefits along with the references. But let me just go down and highlight a few, because I've got several lists. All right, here we go. You stop me when you've had enough. It slows the aging process. It reduces inflammation. It improves stamina. It can help with weight loss. It strengthens the cardiovascular system. It improves sleep quality. It increases metabolism rates. It improves skin quality. It strengthens the immune system. It reduces this oxygen-free radical stress, reduces allergy. It is preventive at some level against at least some types of cancers. It lowers the bad cholesterol level. it's all about energy because the brain uses water to create energy. Well, if it's using hydrogen water to create energy, I think you get twice the benefit personally. It has been found to help improve rheumatoid arthritis. Now,
Wow.
it doesn't cure some of this stuff, but
Right.
it improves it by lowering some of the symptoms. It has been shown to help with at least 63 different diseases. It is the perfect medical gas candidate for the transmission of helpful stuff across the blood-brain barrier. It has been shown to improve some symptoms of Parkinson's. It is able to repair neurons, brain cells. It has been found to reduce the long-term injury from strokes. It has been found to allow you to exercise appropriately with less exhaustion and faster recovery. People who have what's called a fatty liver, it helps reduce that fatty liver and so on. You know,
Wow.
it's not a cure for anything.
Right.
It's preventive and it can help moderate the effects of some things. And that's pretty honest. You know, some people come out and they say, you know, here, you take this, you'll live forever. Okay, give me a break.
Right.
So the research is quite balanced, and that's one thing I like about it. It's not going to prevent everything. It's not going to cure things, but it can help prevent some things, and it can help reduce the symptoms, symptomatic level of some of these diseases.
Yeah, no, and that's, anything that we can do that supports us, right? A lot of times it's just about making a decision, and any decision that's going to be helpful, any habit we're going to pick up, it has to be, enjoyable and sustainable. And drinking water is absolutely sustainable. We do it all the time anyway. Why not do it in a way that's going to be better for us? If we're already, water is part of our life, that's never going to be not part of our life. So simply, I think it would be worth the investment to have a hydrogen machine. And Greg has talked to us, I know people can buy tablets, and there are other ways to get hydrogen into water, but the machines already, I love that it's so filtered, especially with microplastics and other things that I don't want in my body. So it's just an easy way to do something that I already do every day, which is drink a lot of water. I'm very careful. I measure my water every day, make sure I get enough.
I was really bad the other day when I can only do this with my really good friends. I had a friend come and say, I'm looking at a BMW. And I said, well, I hope you just keep looking. And he said, why? And I said, do you have a hydrogen machine? And he said, what's that? So I explained that to him. And I said, I've got a Toyota and a hydrogen machine. If you can't afford a BMW and a hydrogen machine, get the hydrogen machine, because whatever you buy, you probably will live longer to drive. And then I thought afterwards, that was really awful.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's the best kind of thing. It's a good friend tells you when you have broccoli in your teeth. A good friend tells you when your hair is wrong. That's a good friend that tells you the truth about things. And so that's what you're doing. You wouldn't tell him that if you didn't care about his health and his well-being, and that you could have more energy.
I know, but I thought later on, boy, that was a little outside the general health concept of sharing information. But he laughed. And do you know what? He did not buy a BMW.
How about that?
He bought a Lexus.
He bought a Lexus. Well, now we'll have to find out if he's going to get a hydrogen machine. And
that's
see how
my
that goes
next question, but I haven't seen him for a while.
Right. Well, my friend, I can't even believe how fast this time has gone. It is always a pleasure. I wish I lived close enough. You're the kind of people I'd hang out with. Let's just say that. You're my kind of
No kidding. I like to hang out with people who have the same vision. We reinforce things for each other. It's hard to, within about 3 years, we become the average in terms of habits
Yeah.
of the 4 or 5 people that we hang out with. So I'm careful who I hang out with. You know, I love a lot of people, but I'm careful who I spend my discretionary time with. And I prefer that they're on this journey because, you know, if we live to be super centenarians, there'll be relatively few of us around, although, you know, hundreds of thousands now are reaching that around the world. But I want some of my good friends to be there too.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you are a pleasure and a delight. You're a treasure. I am definitely going to go to your website. I know you've got a new 12-week course that I'm very interested in taking, and my understanding is
LLM
you have it.
online.
It's online.
Yeah, all online.
All online, and it's a very minimal. I think $12. I think you told me.
$12 for the 12-week program. I'd like everybody who wants to be healthy to afford it. I'm
And
not doing this to make money.
they can just do it at arlenetaylor.org. And
on the menu, you look for LLM online, and then you just go sign up, and yeah.
LLM online. So I'm going to do the course, and I will give you feedback.
Oh, you do that.
I will give you feedback. So thank you to everyone who's been on the call and listening. And listen, if you're ready, this is an excellent time for you to make an investment in your health. You can call 916-939-9800. 916-939-9800. You can call Impacts World and get more information about the Ion Thrive hydrogen machine. You can email info@impactsworld.com, and let them know that you made your decision because you had this happy chat with two of the most positive people in the universe. So we just want to thank you, Dr. Arlene. Do you want to say anything to the folks before we sign off?
Well, somebody asked me one time, not why I bought the hydrogen machine, but since there's several of them out of there, why did I buy it from Impacts World? And I thought that was an interesting question. And I briefly thought about it, and I said, well, I've got a 25-year history of dealing with this company. I have been benefited by many of their products. My favorite remains Enterprime. I take it every day of my life.
Yep.
And so when I was considering a hydrogen machine and found out that Greg M had been able to arrange to have, a hydrogen machine built and sponsored, if you will, by Impacts World, I thought, okay, why wouldn't I buy it from a company that I know and a company that I trust? And I like it very much.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Again, one of the things I love about Greg is his love of research, and he just has, he knows the answers somewhere here in the universe. He knows the answers here, and he will not let go until he finds it. So like you, I've been on, I think, close to 15 years now, Enterprime and Delta E every single day. It's just part of my regimen, my habit. I can't imagine life without it. It keeps me strong, builds up my immunity, and it's a company. It's almost a family. That they're kind of more than a company, and I like you really appreciate they can be trusted. So same thing. I'm getting my machine. I'll report back to everyone. I am ready. I've been interviewing folks the last few weeks about hydrogen water, and for me that's kind of a new thing. I've known about alkaline water, and I'm ready to take the hydrogen plunge.
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, let me know how you go, how it goes with you, because you're not going to feel anything necessarily instantly. Although I will tell you, when I travel, there's no way I can take my hydrogen machine.
Right.
But I have a little portable one that makes a glass at a time. And so I try to do that when I travel. But when I get back home and I plug in the machine and turn it on again and take a big glass of water, I swear, Wendy, it tastes different and I feel different.
Wow.
And it may be in my head, but that's okay.
Well, You
I
know,
hope it's in my head, actually.
exactly. And the things that are in our head become our reality. So, you know, if it's in my head, if I believe it's helping me, it's probably going to help me. I'm powerful. My brain is powerful.
That's right. All right. Well, have a wonderful day and lovely to talk to you. Take
You,
care of yourself. We need
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. And thank you to everyone, all of you who have been watching and listening. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you next week.